Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Daily Market Report brought to you by Mike Bjork. Today is Thursday, December 7th. We're getting closer to the big day, which is tomorrow. The big jobs numbers will be coming out here, so that's going to be the headline of the week this week for economic activity here. But today we got the weekly jobless claims, weekly jobless claims, and last week we had 238,000 people apply for unemployment. The forecast for this week is supposed to be 240,000. It came in under at 236,000, so obviously it's going the right trajectory, going downward. So we obviously like to see fewer people applying for unemployment. So let's kind of go into the headline news here, and the stock market is up. The kind of all eyes are pretty much on Washington so far. We got two things coming out of Washington. The Senate and the House are meeting to go over a final bill to present to President Trump to sign off, which is looking positive on that aspects there. Some of the stocks were moving around, like yesterday. The high tech was down a bit because there's concerns about how the taxes or the new tax bill might affect them in maybe a negative way. Had to do with the corporate AMT that was in there, and it seemed like it could potentially affect them in a negative way. But a few other industries are up. But overall today, the stock market is up. Dow so far is up about 100 this morning. The other aspect is the reaching an impasse in regards to possible government shutdown tomorrow. They need most likely, like in times past, they usually just find a way to kick the bucket down the road. So that's probably why there's not a lot of concern about that, because that seems to be, what they typically do is just kick the bucket down the road and move the problem, just kind of brush the problem to the side. So let's kind of go ahead and take a look here at the bond market, how that's going. So far, we're doing okay. We're about where we left off. We started the day off earlier. We came closer towards this 50-day moving average. We are still above the 200-day, 50-day, and the Fibonacci level, even though we did test it, as you can see here. But we've since pulled back. We're currently about the same as where we left off yesterday. Now, depending on when investors came out with their pricing, it could be, as you can see, a little bit better or worse, or even about the same. So far, pricing is about the same as where we left off yesterday, so not as big of a change in there. Obviously, the good news is that we're above the 200-day moving average, which could be a good positive. Now, tomorrow, going into the jobs numbers, that could be a big impact on terms of where interest rates move. But next week, we also have the Fed meeting. Typically, when the Fed raises rates, which is very good, pretty much a guarantee that they're going to raise the short-term rate up 0.25%. Typically that affects the bond market in a positive way, because what happens is that's showing that they are going to fight inflation, and by doing so, it helps at least the bond short term. So we potentially could see a push, a good support for the 200-day moving average for maybe both directions. Bonds, above it, whereas the treasuries maybe could potentially be pushed below it. So speaking of treasuries, we'll take a look here. And as you can see, they are above it right now. They're better where they were yesterday. We're up about 2 points, so it's about 2.34 is where we're currently located here, just right here at the 50-day moving average, as that's been a very tough support and resistance for the treasury here as well, but even more so the 200-day moving average. So we'll have to kind of wait and see here. Again, tomorrow it could be a short-term effect in terms of rates could potentially go the opposite direction, but they could bounce back next week in terms of the Fed hike next week. All right, so that pretty much wraps it up. But today rates are about the same as where we left off, as we previously discussed. And but if you guys want to get more data, just go over to Twitter. Should be relatively quiet unless we get more news out of Washington in regards to those two items we just talked about, with regards to the possible government shutdown or the taxes. But otherwise, it should be relatively quiet because not a lot of trading will probably be done prior to the jobs numbers tomorrow until they get those numbers. But just come over to Twitter, Mike Bjork at Twitter, and you can get the latest on what pops up. Have a great day. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.